Good evening, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. As usual, I got a great guest tonight, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Dominic, who's out there causing all kinds of trouble all over the state, as most of you people know. We all, as we do lately on all the shows, we want to prayers of Andy Maynard, hoping that he is recovering well, and we've heard that he's doing pretty good, and so we're happy with that. Okay, and for all individuals that are suffering and everything, Father, prays for and hope you're doing well. Tonight we're back into the political scene as usual. It's getting. I have across from me Paul Formica, okay, and a Republican person that's running against my favorite, Betsy Ritter. But Paul, believe it or not, I just said to Paul, I've known about Paul for a lot of years, and I have friends that know you really well, and your reputation is wonderful. And I want to say thank you for coming on the show, okay, Paul. And
thank you very much for having me. Appreciate that.
And I'll get right at it. I mean, you have a reputation of being a great town selectman. I know from personal friends who absolutely live in your area. We'll tell you about that.
I think one of them didn't want to vote for you because he wants to keep you as first selectman.
How much of a compliment is that in your fourth term?
Yes.
It's because we work together very well in East Lyme. Everybody, there's no politics in East Lyme. It's about working for the people, and that's what we need to do.
It's coordination, right?
Yes.
What brought you to run, though? I guess that's what I want to know right away, because I know you're doing a great job there. I've heard about it for quite a long time, and of course I'm here, so I don't get to see you much, but I do know about the cooperation and the work. I mean, you don't have the kind of problems we have in New London, so you know what?
Well, you know, East Lyme. When I first came to East Lyme, we had a 3 failed budget referendums. There was a lot of acrimony, and we worked hard to make it non-political. We did a good job bringing everybody in. I went and talked to both town committees, not just one, because you know, towns are bigger than one party can solve. You need to have joint effort and buy-in, and that's what we did. And in answer to your question, I'm running for the state senate. Because this is my 4th term. I'm in my 7th year as first selectman of East Lyme. And through that time, you begin to understand the connectivity of everything and how everything works together. And you used the word, I think, coordination. And we talked, you know, before the show started a little bit about the Council of Governments. And that is, if you don't know, the Council of Governments has got 21 towns throughout southeastern Connecticut. The leaders meet once a month to talk about regional transportation planning issues, and out of that much good happens. And you realize how connected the towns in the region are to what's happening in Hartford. And mayors and first selectmen throughout the district are making the tough decisions. We're not making those same decisions, I don't think, in Hartford, and I think we can be better effective with our fiscal dollars, and so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Good. And of course, when you expand from where you are, and you do have the regional experience, and with the COG and stuff like that, the towns are very different. I mean, from where you are, New London is extremely different. You know, how do you see, you know, looking at where we are and the struggles of New London that has gone on for lots of years, what do you see? What do you tell my voters, because I live here and stuff like that, and people, what do you tell them?
Well, listen, I think New London is a jewel. It's ready to be polished. I think it has so much wonderful opportunity and everything going for it. With the water, with the transportation, you have some initiatives that once developed will generate not only tax dollars and interest in people, but hope and expectation. And I think that the Main Street, Bank Street, State Street, that whole area there, you know, is just a little bit away from being polished up and getting to be a vibrant city. And once New London becomes a vibrant city, that stretches left and right throughout the district, throughout southeastern Connecticut. Now, you know, I'll give you an answer. When I was the chairman of COG, which was one chairman ago, so it's about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago. We had just been disappointed by not getting the Tiger grant for the Central Rail Corridor. Congressman Courtney worked hard, he put it in there, and it didn't happen. So we wanted to keep that alive, so we convened a subcommittee. I chaired the subcommittee, and I didn't chair it as much as facilitate discussion. We had the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the Mass Department of Transportation, a lot of people, trained community, in-state, out-of-state. They all came down and talked about it. The importance of that corridor, I believe, is that if that train line gets beefed up to handle freight cars, 286,000 pounds, have to be able to go on that, which it can't handle now. Then what that does is not only benefit the railroad, it benefits the Port of New London.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now the Port of New London has an opportunity to send its goods north, south. That train line goes up Norwich, Willimantic, Stafford Springs, Palmer. And now you have transit-oriented development for Norwich, left to Columbia, right to up to Willimantic, right to Wyndham. All of those things will generate opportunity. And that all stems from New London. And you throw in some good opportunity, Coast Guard Museum, wherever that lands, that's going to start to bring people. We get train travel. I don't think we're that far away, and that will benefit folks in East Lyme.
Well, I know one of the things that we've talked about is obviously how do we regionalize and coordinate the tourist industry within here. So it's not just somebody coming to visit the Coast Guard Museum, going over to Mistake or all the other attractions that are around, but how do we sort of coordinate those things so that people are coming for more than just a day trip, but coming to the area to really experience it.
We have to work together. We have to get the whole Chamber of Commerce, all of those business groups, Mystic, Coast and Country, all of that's got to come together. And I know you got a call you want to...
I got a feeling this might be right. Yeah, good. Good evening, you're on Street Talk with Father Russ and his guest.
Good evening, Father Russ, my sparring partner.
Dennis, bless you, how are you?
How you been?
Very, very good, Dennis.
All right, I have a question for Paul. Paul, I've met you a couple times, and I like your message, and I can tell you right now up front you got my vote. There's no two ways about it.
I knew that.
It's one thing with politicians that I have a stickler about, and that is when they get into power, when they win, and they get to their seat, it's like an act of God to be able to get a hold of them, to talk to them. Now, I know it's a busy position that you're going for, and you can't maybe always get back to the public. Now, there's another gentleman that's running on a Republican ticket, Mr. Andy Lockwood, who came up with an idea the other day about having 2 or 3 people that would stay in this area that would be like his go-to people. Like if I can't get a hold of you, I could get a hold of these people, and they would be able to get a hold of you easier than I may be able to get a hold of you. Now, I'm wondering if that's something that you would entertain, and also how, once you win this seat, how accessible are you going to be to someone like me that just works, pays taxes, and I'm really a nobody?
Well, first of all, you're not everybody, and
You know
thank
what I'm talking about.
Thank you for the question. One of the things that I try to pride myself to do in East Lyme is to call back every phone call that I get, that day if I can, the next day if I can't. And sometimes you don't, you can't. But I plan on having an office in the district. As you know, I have the fish market and restaurant that, my kids are there, and they're harder on me, Dennis, than you're ever going to be. So, I will get back to you, and that's one of my promises is that, not promises, because I hate that word. One of the things I will do when I'm hired is to have a presence in Hartford and have a presence in the district. And, for a selectman's job, mayor's job, that's 75 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And Dennis, I have to say, a couple of years ago, I forget, I don't exactly know what the issue was, but I had to call Paul on something, and I'll tell you, he didn't know me. He probably didn't even remember. I called him, and he called me back within a few hours. I don't remember the issue. It probably was something to do with the homeless stuff, or at the time, it might have even been 3 years ago or something like that. But he got right back to me, and I really think a lot of, I happen to love our politicians, both sides of the aisle here around our district. They all seem to be wonderful people, and they all seem to get back to their constituency. I have never had a problem with Andy, okay, and Andy was not even our senator, or Andrea Stillman, or I never have a problem with it.
Russ,
And,
Russ, you have to admit, when you make a phone call, and on the other end of the line they say, "Oh, it's Father Russ Carmichael from New London," they're going to get on the phone. Right? It's no better than not to get on the phone. Now, if I call them up and say, "Yeah, this is Dennis Downing calling," there's not going to be no rush to talk to me. So I'm liking what I'm hearing from Paul.
Okay.
But as a Republican, and as for myself being a newly Republican, this is what we have to do to win back the seats in this city, in this state, and so forth and so on. We've got to make sure that our politicians that get elected are going to definitely keep in touch, because this is, I believe, something that other sides just don't do.
Well, I'll tell
Thank
you.
you for your answer, and I'm wishing you the best of luck. And I'll talk with you guys later.
okay, take care, Dennis. Love you.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the things that makes mayors and first selectmen a little different from state representatives and senators, and certainly United States congressmen and senators, is the direct accountability. You know, I tell the story that, I was coming home from work after a long week, and Friday night around 7 o'clock, I put my stuff on the counter. I get a call, "You didn't pick my garbage up." I said, "Okay, I'll be right over." But the fact of the matter is, I'm accountable to that, and we got somebody to go out the next morning and fix the mistake we made. And that doesn't happen so much in the state house, in the legislature, and that certainly at the feds sometimes don't deal with that at all.
Well, I know, I mean, from my experience, I mean, I'm lucky to be involved with the people that I have. Obviously, I'm not a seasoned politician as Father Russ is.
Part of what Dennis says is, obviously, I bang doors down, and whether it's the White House, I get people to call back, but, okay, I mean, that's after years of being involved, family in politics and stuff like that. However, I also think that's the responsibility of a citizen, that you engage and you make your, whether they like it or not, politician, you work for us. And if you have to be nasty about it, as advocates, there's no, a lot
Well, I mean,
of people
like I was saying,
I can be real salty,
I've found people, and obviously, I'm not from this area or your district. I'm actually a little bit lower down in the Milford area. But I've certainly had an interaction with people statewide, and I think, once you have to find a way to get through to people no matter what. And I look at it as, I'll go, and if I have a specific issue, which we did last session, I'll check your Facebook page. I'll find out where you are. I'll get in front of you, and basically, you're not going to be able to avoid what I'm doing. But certainly having somebody that's responsive, that you don't have to go to those lengths, is important. And certainly the people in my area, I don't have that issue with, because they do. They come.
Well, that's what that's why Street Talk too, Dennis, and that's why we have Street Talk we're teaching an advocacy group and stuff like that is more teaching. I'm not a lobbyist, although some people claim I am, but that's not exactly what we teach. We want our people, we deal with marginalized people, to understand. Paul's a politician. Even at his level, you need to connect with him. If you're part of his community, if you're homeless, you need him. But he needs your vote. Yes. And that's the most important thing you have. And if you don't vote and you don't do that, then you got no right to complain. I got people coming in. Here we go. Good evening. You're on Street Talk with Father Russ and his guest. Hello.
All right, am I on?
Yeah, you're on with me. Good.
Okay, I'm just going to say a couple things, and that's about it.
Okay.
I think bringing back the townhouse meetings once a week so we can keep our politicians in check, in person. I want to see them in person. I want to hold them accountable. And if they don't do their job, they're out of there. Simple as that. Simple as that. It's illegal what they do. Some of the politicians in America are treasonous. They are treasonous.
Well, we get no argument with that. I know that,
I have real bad feelings. I've been here for, I'm the guy that you probably don't want to talk to.
I know who it is.
Well, you don't
Yeah,
know who I am.
you're being nice tonight, and you're being respectful.
Well, you don't know who I am. I know who a lot of people are, and
Right.
you can send your feelers out for me. I'm Robert Chapman.
I'm not. Don't be silly. Okay, let's be
Well, I'm not
respectful.
being silly. I'm just being an American. I'm being a true American
Okay.
that see people hurting, and I don't want it anymore. I don't want unjust wars. I don't want any bullshit. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
I understand. You
I
know.
don't want that. I want us to come back. I want our colleges and universities to get us out of all the energy crisis, all this crap. I'm 48 years old. I've always heard, wean ourselves off foreign oil, that people that don't like us. Well, you know what? We get most of our oil from Canada, okay? So I don't want to hear any more BS from our politicians. And I don't want, I'm related to some heavy hitters in history.
Okay.
And,
Well, what's the question, please?
Well, I don't have a question.
Oh,
I just
okay.
wanted to make a comment and hold
Okay.
hold you guys accountable. That's all. That's all.
I hear
And I
you.
think what he's talking
You know,
about.
I don't want any waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
Waste, fraud, and abuse on American taxpayers. That's all. I'm watching you. And like I said, you can send anybody after me. I'm right here.
Amen.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bless you. Take it
Thank you.
easy.
One of the things that I do in East Lyme is any community group that wants me to go talk to them, I always accept
You're
the
open,
invitations,
yeah, I
and
know.
I always go, because I think what the caller said is important.
Yeah.
You have to go out,
Oh, wait,
and for more important reasons than that. One, I don't mind people disagreeing with me, as long as they are not disagreeable. Because everybody's got an opinion, and together, the three of us perhaps could solve a problem with better solution
Exactly.
than just one of us.
Exactly.
So I'm happy for that. But I'd rather have what I'm thinking out. That's why I come on shows like this. That's why I have my own show. That's why we tape and televise all of our Board of Selectmen meetings. You hear what I'm saying.
Right.
And so if you disagree with what I'm saying, at least you know that's what I said, not, the information that gets twisted and turned, and,
That's exactly right.
and so it's important for the caller, and I agree wholeheartedly. Gotta be out there.
It's important to be engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what Dennis talked about. That's what he's talking about. You have to be engaged. And being engaged does not mean that you have to be rude, that you have to be crude, or that you necessarily have to attack, but you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to share. You have to be able to have everybody at a table that can share their opinions, no matter how diverse. And I think, and that's what we're talking about.
And that's how you get good solutions. I mean, because, one side or one person just doesn't have it. I mean, you see that, and the polarization that we have in Washington, it just makes it harder to get the wheels turning, because you can't, and one side or the other, doesn't matter which side
Well,
you're
I
on.
think people are looking for somebody who's pragmatic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the piece that is kind of missing within all of this, is there isn't that pragmatic, let's take a look at the problem, irregardless of which side of the fence you live on it, but let's actually take a look at it and see what solutions that we need to come up with.
And work together to get them.
Yeah.
And again, I love Betsy Ridden, there's no question about it. Actually, I love Bill Sarai too. So, okay, how do you see yourself different than what Betsy would do, say? That's who you're running against, right? You got Betsy is your major opponent.
Yeah, I'm running against Betsy, and she has a record in the state legislature of, voting for some of the things that could be argued, is not pushing the state in a forward direction. In fact, it could be argued it's pushing it in the other direction. And we're, as a state right now, after the last how many years of majority one-party legislation, both House and Senate. In the last 4 years, the governor, all one party. We're, as a state, we're last in some of the things that we need to be first at, and we're first in some of the things that we should be last at. And so that has to be reversed, and those policies that were voted on and enacted in some cases simply haven't worked. So that's how I'm different from there. The other part of it is that I had a business on Main Street for 31 years. I've operated a municipality and a business throughout the Great Recession. And so I have a unique perspective on how government really connects to Main Street and what they do and how it affects.
Now, you see, I look at you and I say, and you're a Republican, and a businessman that's a Republican, and I look at you and I know that you have a business and you have workers that you care about and they work for you, and but I don't see you as a Republican corporation. I see you as a very different business, you know, mom and pop store business that really care about people and really work. And so I wondered why you're not a Democrat.
You know, maybe.
Because he would have had the primary with his friend Bill.
Because it was. I mean, I see a guy that's running for governor that I know what he is. I know the kind of businessman he is. I know how he makes his money in business. Very different than the way you make your money in business.
You know, the big business guys have a, you know, they answer to different levels of the profit makers. You know, the small business guys like me, we're the job creators.
You're
we're the
exactly
ones
right.
that go out. And so if the economic environment on Main Street is not conducive for us, if all our fees are going up, if all our regulations are getting tougher and tougher, if our taxes are higher, it's harder for us to go out and do the majority of the hiring that we do. And so we end up working more. I have employees that have been with me, managers 15 years, 18 years. They get paid vacation, they get pension, they get sick, they get health insurance. And
right.
If they, and I'll tell you why. That when I first started, my kids were 4, under 7. So by the time I'm in my 8th year in the restaurant, I had 4 kids. Now, I wanted to see some of that stuff. You know, some of the music recitals were a little tough.
Yeah.
But, you know, I didn't mind listening to them because your kids are out playing it.
Right.
But, so I didn't hire one manager, because if one manager called out sick, then I was back at the store. So we hired 3. And everybody had 40 hours, everybody had 2 days off, and everybody had the opportunity to go see their kid play soccer, or listen to them at the band, and get their insurances and get their vacation. And that's what community is about. How families interact with everybody on Main Street. And that's how we built our business. And we had them over our house, we had parties, we opened up our home and they became our family. And I can tell you that we've had 7 couples in East Lyme meet there and get married there. And the last one, I'm a justice of the peace. I was able to marry them. I was able to marry them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't do this without good staff. You don't do it without employees. People think that, you know, the businesses, you know, they're the ones that do it all. I have to have very trained, qualified people on the front lines, because if they're not happy and working hard, they're going to drive customers away.
They're going to drive them away, and you're going to be out of business.
And it's the same
it's
thing.
Exactly, you know, and it's a hard business. The business you're in is
There's not many easy ones left, I don't think, you know?
You know, so
But municipalities are the same, state is the same. You know, if the people aren't happy and doing their job, then the effectiveness diminishes. And there's a lot of talk about efficient government, but I think we need to be effective. And I think that's what we need to try to do.
So I'm hearing that you bring that unique experience to the type of leadership role that you're looking at to the Senate. And you know, and statewide, obviously, we were lucky with the rail situation. I am totally in line with you for the same thing. I believe that's really going to happen. Well, it is going to happen. They got the money for it and everything else. But the type of expansion you're talking about, that vision, I see that vision too. With the waterway, I see the waterway vision, which Senator Maynard was a major leader in developing and stuff like that, Joe and the people that we've had working up there. But do you think that maybe that in our area, that we have unique leaderships versus other places in the state? I mean, Republican, Democrat, but when you go across the line to deal with them across the aisle, they're a group that work together.
Well, in southeastern Connecticut, I talked about the COG being 21 towns.
Right.
I don't even know what half of the people are.
I was just going to, what Republican and Democrat.
I mean, you know a few of them, but,
Yeah, exactly,
you know,
right?
you just don't know, because it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter.
You know, I
Right.
tell people, you know, especially there's some years the Republicans weren't very popular. So you're a Republican, oh, that can't be bad. That can't be good, but you have to run on a line.
Right.
That's the system. You got to put your name on a line, no matter what it is. So,
Right.
but once you get elected, it doesn't matter what that is. You work for the people.
Yeah, and
And
you-
that's,
and that-
you got to bring everybody together.
Yeah,
to
and
do
you
that.
got to perform and do, or else, as the man who talked earlier, you know, and that's what you do. I mean, that's how you connect. You don't like your politician, politicians that don't work, as many have seen what I do here in New London, okay, our Democratic mayor, I'm one of the first ones that want him out of here. And I've worked extremely hard to see that that's going to happen, because I see him as an obstructionist. Okay, my opinion, you know, may not be yours, but that's my opinion as a voter.
So what do you see as some of the smart investments that we can make to make this area? I mean, you're talking about being involved in the regional, the COG. What are some of the smart investments that would help the benefit to be able to grow jobs? I mean, I understand the party of, you know, less taxes, less regulations, everything else. But I also think that you have to be able to make investments in infrastructure, you know. What do you see as some of the major areas that we could, I mean, obviously we talk about the Ports Bill and the railroad. For this region, what do you see as some of the smart investments?
You know, when I came into East Lyme, one of the things you recognize is that, you know, you have an infrastructure that's important, right? I didn't know anything about the water problem that we had, but it doesn't matter. The wastewater problem is the next big problem of the country and the world. And if we don't solve that, it doesn't matter how good the regulations are, how low the taxes are. If you don't have water and wastewater, there's no business, there's no people.
Right.
So the first thing we did was to work on a solution to the water shortfall in East Lyme. And I don't know if you're familiar with how that works.
I did actually read up on it a little bit.
Well, very simple, here's how it works. East Lyme had 7 wells that provides their water. There's 2 main producing wells are here, and there's a stream that goes by. They're maybe a mile apart. Once the stream falls below a certain level, the DEP permit says you got to turn the well off. So that happens when it's hot and dry. When is it hot and dry? July. This is 1 million gallons of water a day between these 2 wells. I go from 17,000 people in East Lyme to 30,000 people in the summer. And I got to turn the water off.
And you got to turn the
We
water
do
off.
2.5 million gallons a day, and I got to find almost half of that. So what we did was we worked with New London, because from September 15th to May 15th, we have an excess of 1 million gallons of water a day. So we said to New London, how about if we send you 150,000 gallons a day, you use it in your system, that equals 30 million gallons over 9 months. And we'll bring the 30 million gallons back in the summer, less evaporation, we'll pay you for your service, and it helps you and it helps us. And so now we've solved the shortfall. And that's done a couple of things. One, it eliminates the inconvenience. We still like people to conserve water, because I believe that's the new oil in years to come.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But it also allowed us 12 months of economic opportunity. And without that 12 months of water supply, I could not have permitted, or the zoning commission could not have permitted, a business like Costco coming in at exit 74, which is going to generate enough money to pay for the cost of that infrastructure on the water, which was $10 million. It's going to make that payment times 3 every year. So that one economic opportunity pays off that investment, and now we have water. Now we have to do wastewater yet next, and we're working as a region, East Lyme, Waterford, New London, and others. Kathy Austin and Sprague is out there working on that, because she has some wastewater issues.
Yeah.
That's going to be next. And those are issues that Formica can't solve in East Lyme, but maybe as a senator, I can bring people
You can
together to
bring
do that.
people together on
And
that.
those are important things. Another thing is, again, talking about the COG. The seat bus serves a lot of the region. It's southeastern area transit. And there's a lot of people, a lot of your constituents, That's how they get around.
Exactly.
A lot of people that work in the 5 hotels that are at Flanders Four Corners, they need to get back and forth. And it's just not enough regional. So we decided as a group to get as many mayors and first selectmen on the seat board as we can. Not that the people that were servicing that did a bad job. It's just that it's easier to make decisions when you're the decision maker.
Yeah, exactly.
You
right.
don't have to come back.
That's right.
So now we have all mayors and first selectmen on there, and we're working hard to see what we can do to make that more of a regional thing. And there's a lot of wonderful workers at SEAT. There's a great new manager at SEAT. But New London now can work with Norwich because the leaders are there. East Lyme and Waterford and all that. So all of a sudden, in a year or two, those pieces are going to start to puzzle. So now you have water and wastewater. You have rail and freight. And you have the opportunity to move people once they land on the rail platform. Now you have to make the business environment conducive.
Conducive to everything
And
else.
that's just,
Which means friendly, too.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the business environment, I mean, how can I, we have a lot of business people involved in part of my family, you know, and one of the worst, you know, they talked about investment here. I have a home healthcare business here. I employ about 7 people. My daughter wanted to expand the area. We were going down to your area, by the way, because we felt that New London is not, at present, a friendly business environment. And of course, we have felt that way ever since we've been here, and I have other people who have felt the same way, that there has always seemed to be in the New London area an obstruction for the development of business. And I guess that's the kind of thing that, I know where you are, and I know how business does not seem to have the difficulties in your area that they seem to have in this area. And I'm not sure, do you have any reasoning for that, or what do I...
well, listen, I don't, you know, I work with the mayor
You work-
on
I
a
know you
regional
do,
basis.
right.
I don't sit in his office and
Right.
know the problems
Problems that-
of cleaning up
Right.
his streets and what he's got to do there, so I don't want to criticize that. You know, but I do know that what we did in East Lyme
Okay.
was to take the village of Niantic.
Right.
And it's paint and paper, as you say, right? We had new granite curbs, new sidewalks, new street
Yeah.
lamps, clean it all up and make it pedestrian friendly. And the important thing that we did on top of that was to put housing a block off that. So we have affordable housing mixed in with regular housing, so you have
Mixed in.
350, 400 people in this complex and another 250 up here and another 100 over here, and what does that do? People walk to downtown. So you have to make it safe and friendly, you have to make it pedestrian, and once those people start walking downtown, they're going to start looking for services. And those services are going to start to appear, and that's what's happened in East Lyme, and we have, I think, 1 vacancy in our downtown.
Downtown area, right?
That was really my issue. I came out here to visit with my family, you know, and to see a lot of the sites in the region, and that was the biggest complaint that I had, just even walking down to the ferry, was you got cracked sidewalks everywhere. You know, I mean, I've worked in the mental health business for a long time. People judge you on your appearance,
Yeah.
you know, because they can't see beyond the inner workings of different departments and other things. They judge you on how you look.
And what do they say? You don't get 2 chances to make a good first impression.
No.
No, you don't, no, you get
No.
the one,
So
you
that's-
get the one shot.
That's what you
Okay,
gotta do.
right. Good evening, you're on Street Talk with Father Russ and his guests.
Hi, I had called earlier, and I wasn't directing my comment at Mr. Formica about politicians, because I don't really know too much about them, but I do know that New London could be a lot better. The buildings, we have to hold our building owners accountable for their buildings. They're falling apart. I've said that for 20 years. And,
I know.
you know, they're vacant. We need to do something more about that. And I feel like there's a lot of people in town that are obstructing, that are doing that deliberately because of maybe military or government pressure. You know, there's people that want to, you know, I have a feeling about this, you know, that they want to, like, take the land, you know, by eminent domain. Eminent domain was used in 1957 in New London. and it was used again, and it was nationally publicized. And I just have a weird feeling about this, and I do love New London. I come from a small town down the coast, and and it's just a strange feeling. So if I get if I sound like kind of like if I'm getting crazy, I'm sorry. I just, I know that we're close to the Navy and we're close to everything, and I don't want to be this NSA kind of paranoid state, but New London can do a lot better. We have to hold the people who own the buildings. We definitely have to hold them accountable, or they lose the buildings. That's it.
I agree with you. A lot of what you said and when you've talked to me over some time, there's a lot I agree with, and we do have to hold people accountable. You're absolutely right. I happen to know, I was trying to segue into Paul without being too negative on here, because I did know what they did down there and with the infrastructure and how they developed, which is very different than what we had here. And Paul's area is a good area to look at as the way they developed, and it's business friendly. I also know people who have invested there because of the business friendliness that we seem, for some reason, we seem to lack that. But thanks a lot for the call. I appreciate it.
You know, you have
See you guys.
you have an important voice too, so don't stop talking, because, voices and opinions like the calls are important for us to hear. I'll tell you another thing we did in East Lyme. It's a simple thing. I was in business for a long time. I was in a lot of business organizations, the chambers and the restaurant associations and all of that. And I knew that every time you come into town hall, your shoulders go up a little bit. Right? You're ready for a fight. What's going to happen?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So we started having business breakfasts, business after hours, things there where the business community could come in. We'd give a little talk about what we were doing, maybe get the superintendent down there. But I asked all of our department heads to come and join us. And then afterward, leave enough time to shake hands with each other. And I would point them out in the meeting. Say, this is the building inspector. Nobody likes the building inspector because they want to make sure that the guy says yes, But go talk to him. Meet him on a different level. And so then when you have to do business with him, you kind of know who you're talking to a little bit. And I think that's helped a little bit.
I really do. Again, I know a little bit about the area. In fact, my daughters were looking towards your area to take our business and the expansion that they intend to do, because their father's getting old, and
Well, you have a very timely business that I'm sure is growing, and people want to be at home.
Exactly right. And it is the way of the development of our medical care across the country and stuff like that. So it is timely and all that. And my kids are young enough to,
Not only that, you look at other cultures throughout the world, and the way they revere their elders, the way they revere their sick, they take them home. We've gotten away from that a little bit. And I think we're finding that we're getting back to that.
Exactly.
And people are, and it's hard. So you need help, like the services that you're providing to get there. But, if you're in home, people want to be at home, especially when they're near end of life.
And it's cost effective. I mean, if you take it, it's very cost effective. There's no question about what Dominic and I do and everything else like that. We do save the state a lot of money and stuff like that, and we create an environment for. They're our family. I mean, the individuals that we take care of become your extended family, just as like your working type of thing. That's the kind of stuff that we do. And I'm fortunate that my children like it and been doing it. Well, of course, I got one in the Coast Guard. She's still got a...
Oh, good for you.
My
good
baby.
For her.
My baby, oh yeah.
How old are your kids?
20. Oh, hello, good evening. You're on Street Talk with Father Russ and his guest.
Hi, Russ. It's me again.
Oh, hi, Dennis.
I have another question for Paul, and this is something that I've heard a lot about, and I've never really gotten any kind of confirmation on it, and so it popped in my mind. Somebody said something. But anyways, Paul, New London has a large homeless population, and in that, a lot of people that are here that are homeless are from different towns. Now, I've been told in the past that each town submits or gives the city of New London $3,000 a year to take care of any individuals that may come from their town. If this is true, do you think maybe it's time that these towns started coughing up more money, because $3,000 a year for a homeless person is not a lot of money?
It is true. I don't know that every town does 3,000. I'm not sure if we're 3,000 or 3,500, but I know that Kathy came and spoke to the Council of Government some years ago and said, you know, New London is struggling with the homeless population, and it really is regional in nature. And that opened a lot of our eyes to the fact that, yes, towns like East Lyme and Waterford and Old Saybrook have homeless people. And yes, we do need to stand up and do better than that and work more as a team. But sometimes it goes beyond money. And we need coordination of effort, coordination of services that perhaps East Lyme could bring and, you know, to New London and vice versa. But you're absolutely right. The number is close to being right on. It is in our budget every year. I put it in the first year after Kathy brought it to us, and it's stuck there ever since. And you could argue it should go a little higher, because what New London is offering, especially that new shelter, is regional in nature.
Well, I'm understanding that one of the reasons for this is because we have the facilities, we have the means for these people to come here and get some kind of assistance, where other towns may not have it at the same level we do. But, you need to look at this, and maybe once you get up in Hartford, or wherever, Hartford, Washington, D.C., wherever, that this is something that you can maybe look at, because it really straps the people of New London to try to carry this burden alone, and it's really not fair.
No, Dennis, you know that I agree with you from the beginning on that. And when we were dealing with that, actually before Kathy and with Kathy, we were talking regionalization, because it's a huge problem. Homelessness across the country, in the state, is a very difficult problem. And even the facility that we have right here is not, it's not big enough to handle the regional problem of homelessness that we have. And then, of course, we attract a lot of other people now, because we do a very good job here in New London taking care of those individuals. And it's a double-edged sword. So, no easy answers with that problem.
Yeah.
That's a good one for Paul to take care of.
Very good, Dennis.
See you guys later.
Okay, take it easy.
Well, you talked about coordination before.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues, that if we're going to ever have a hope to solve homelessness, we have to really, do a lot of things with our veterans that are not
With the
getting
veterans
serviced
and not getting
correctly,
service and everything. Well, we got to provide them with homes.
Yeah.
The shelters are not the answer. I mean, we've always been, the question is, the philosophy, my split is a philosophical difference, even though we help found the shelter and stuff like that, is that you want to work yourself out of a job, which means you have to put people in homes or apartments and stuff like that, which have done other places, I know that you know about the stuff that has been done in other areas, and those are the kind of answers we got to look to.
It's interesting, you don't know about a problem till you face it.
Till you face it.
And
Yeah, exactly.
we got a little bit when Kathy came, and
Yeah.
she's been a dynamo with homeless solutions there.
she's
She's really worked hard.
she's worked hard.
As all of you have.
Yeah.
We had a situation where we had a large rooming house that had their electricity turned off. People were living there without power, without water. We tried to help and resurrect, but the owner just wouldn't budge. So we had to board the place up, and I had 30 people that we had to locate. And those folks had a lot of them had just paid the rent. They're living week to week, and now they think they have a month's rent ahead of time, and now they have nothing. And so they have to go out and now find a place and try to have food, and it just, and the owner, whatever he did with the money, it was gone. Yeah. And so I had to get immersed in that problem and help to find them not only homes, but find services
to take.
And that's the other thing.
That's the other-
This-
exactly.
On a statewide level, we need coordination of services. You
Exactly.
need one phone call where you can call up, somebody answers it and says, I know where you can get that problem. Either push a button or give them a number and they call and get it solved. And it's difficult for a town of East Lyme because we don't really have a lot of social services out there.
No, and again, you're talking about cooperation and networking and stuff like that. The only real way to solve these problems are joint cooperation. You got to go across the aisle.
Yeah.
You got to deal with people with different ideas and stuff. It's the only way to solve these huge crises that we're talking with, everything from water to homelessness.
It's just
and-
how scary it is that so many people are close to that homeless type
Oh,
situation.
it is.
That it can really hit you like that.
And that goes to...
Overnight.
That goes to the economic foundation that we have to rebuild, and I think we have to do that in the state. We have to be effective. Remember that we're dealing with other people's money, and they just can't afford a lot of the ineffectiveness that we've seen.
Which is going on.
That's what we have to try to do as a group. It's beyond party. You need to put the people up there, I think, that can, have the best opportunity to try to deal with it.
Well, again, I have to go back to our area. I think we're really fortunate in the type of leadership that we have here in the area. I was a little depressed there for about 10 years, and then I kind of turned around with the kind of leadership that's here, with your own leadership where you are. I know what you've done in your town. I believe I can see what may be happening in New London, in other areas. So, and again, it has to do with the leadership. Okay, you have to have people who are open, like yourself, who are willing to work together and can hear each other. Without that, we're
And
lost.
you have to empower people that are in the position
That
to actually do the
they're
work.
doing the work.
I have 28 department heads in East Lyme.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a public works director or, a park and rec guy, but I got to be able to let that park and rec guy and that public works
Do his
director
job.
do his job, get him the tools or her the tools to do the job. And so I kind of look at it, not that, Formica's at the tip of the pyramid, on the top, that I'm at the bottom. And my job is to support everybody up and make everybody better.
He talks like, my school of math. Exactly right. Yeah, that's great when you are sitting at a table, even with diverse opinions, and you're talking about management, you understand the management from that way versus the other way. It's really interesting. I got 5 minutes. I want you to, talk to, we're out there, we're all over, not only on,
We're actually statewide. We're on systems from Fairfield all the way up to Orange and all the way up through the Naugatuck Valley. So you go on all over the place.
They can do that, right?
well, we take.
No, we take it and we
do it in our
this.
different sites with our different staff, different places, so.
Good for
And
you.
you get up on YouTube and you're on
Yeah,
Facebook.
originally I spoke to Len Fasano about trying to get a
Trying
show
to
together
get
with
you.
you and him, and
Yeah,
at the same time, and he said he was going to talk to you, but Father got all the in between.
I'm happy if you want to do it.
We'll do another one.
Or anybody else that
Hey, you
want.
want- okay.
That's okay. with
But I
me.
want you to talk to the people who are out there. Obviously, it looks like Dennis and I are going to negate one vote, because I told Betsy, I love you, you know that, Betsy, and I'm sure you're probably watching. Okay, and so Dennis is voting for Paul, and I'm voting for you, so there you go. We're even.
So we broke even tonight.
We're both even tonight, okay, so I want you to.
This is first, thank you for the opportunity to come on and share. I think we had
Oh, it's great.
a wonderful discussion on many
Great,
different
great.
things, and I think that, we all understand that the problems are bigger than each and every one of us, and that we have to come together as a community. And, again, I'm Paul Formica. I'm the first selectman of East Lyme. I'm the owner of Flanders Fish Market and Restaurant. I say that because we've been there 31 years. And so I know what it's like to operate a business in a municipality during the Great Recession. We have a good system in East Lyme where we've been an average tax increase of 1 to 1.5% over the last 5 years. Our health plan is working. We've grown our health insurance fund, and we have the opportunity to take that statewide. So I would love to have the opportunity to serve as a state senator here in the 20th District. I think my experience as a local leader and as a business person allows me to work with each and every one of the mayors and first selectmen and all of the residents of the 20th District. And I look forward to having the opportunity. And I think we need to do three things. We need to be fiscally effective, and we need to make sure that the people who need service get service. And we also have to make sure that we have an opportunity and we have an environment for people in our state to come together as one people of Connecticut and to have that mindset that we can do these things, not to feel like we're last in this category and last in that category and all is lost and let's move out. Let's resurrect Connecticut. Let's resurrect the 20th District together. And I think with your help and with your help, I think we can do that. So I look forward to the opportunity, and I hope that when the bell rings, you consider me and cast your vote on November 4th.
Paul, very glad to have you here. Obviously, Dominic, another good night. And for all my people who tune in, we'll see you next week. Michael Nard's coming back on with me. I hope Dominic can make it here. We're going to talk about, obviously, Michael does the ministry with me, Little Red Cell with Voices from Prisons and stuff like that. But he's got stuff from his own publishing company out. Jack London's material put together, his new book. He's got the anthology coming out. So we always have a good night with Michael. Michael's got a lot of stuff to talk about, and Michael will be here next week. And then I don't know where we are from then on, but I know we got a lot of good guests coming back on. We got Kathy Ostin will be back.
Tim Bowles will be on.
Tim will be back. Tim will be back, I think, right after Michael. I miss Tim. God bless you, Tim. I hope you're doing well. And again, our prayers to Andy and the family, and we hope he's doing well. So God bless you all. You know, I love you all out there. Thank you. And there goes the street. Love you.